Hi there, my name is Pham, and my topic is about the use of artificial intelligence, AI for short, paired with facial recognition techniques. Okay. What is facial recognition software? Facial recognition software is basically a software where it analyzes your facial features like your cheekbones, the color of your eyes, your eyebrows, your nose, and then it uses that to identify who you are. This can usually be found in many of the newer generations of phones, and it can be also found in many CCTV cameras. The ethical concerns of this, however, are that this software can collect your data without you knowing. It can be used to track you and where you go. And many people have a general fear about artificial intelligences becoming too smart. Okay, data collection issues. So the issues of data collection are that, let's use an example. You have your phone in your left hand. It's not in your pocket. It's literally just hanging in your hand. And you walk into Nike because what most companies do, that are like related to carrier services or like the actual manufacturers of the phone. What they do is they make you agree to a terms and services contract, which basically allows them to access your camera without you actually knowing. And how this situation comes into play is that they see you're in Nike, and then they're like, oh, this person must like sports apparel. And then they sell that information off to some company that has to do with sports apparel, and then they send messages to you like, do you like sports apparel? We have 30% off on blah 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 on sports apparel on blah 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 this website. And then how the facial recognition software and the AI kind of work together in this situation is that if you switch phones, then they'll still be able to message you because even if you switch different number, all of that stuff, they have your facial recognition in their database already. They know what they have your all of that. So all they need to do is find your number, which wouldn't be very hard because again they have your facial recognition, and then they can send you messages again. So this is a very big problem to some people. And this was so big of a problem that I have an article right here where the FFC finds find a lot of wireless companies for selling user location data. And even though that a lot of them got fined, there are still companies who do this. So those are some of the issues. Okay, so before I go into the pros, throughout this entire project, I'm using John Stuart Mill's theory of utilitarianism. I probably butchered that, but yeah. Which basically explains it decides what's right and wrong through what generates more happiness or pleasure from a decision. So, what John Stuart Mill's theory is about is that it sees some happinesses and pleasures are placed above others, but it basically looks for which decision generates the most happiness, not specifically from you, but like everyone. So if one decision makes you suffer, but it generates more happiness than the other decision, then that would be the ethically right decision, and that's how that kind of works. Okay, so for the pros. Even though it has as many cons, it can bring good, and it can be used to identify criminals and prevent crimes from happening. how this works is that if the phone detects, if the camera turns on, identifies a man's face, and then it sees bombs, then it will send this information to a database where it will then contact the police, and the police will work on tracking that person down and then stopping it before those bombs go off. And I have another article right here, and one of the stories is actually how a girl was getting sexually assaulted, but through facial recognition, all of that stuff, the police were able to come help. Okay, so for the cross-cultural perspective for this, China is a big cross-cultural perspective. Because China is one of the countries who are known for using facial recognition algorithms. And what China did was basically they trained the algorithms to identify the faces of the Uyghur people. I don't know how to pronounce it, but China basically condemned them and put them in camps a while back. And many people found this disturbing. And then a U.S. journal and even a U.S. journal published about it. And then the complaints kept on piling higher and higher, and then they launched an investigation on China. And right here is the article for that. Okay. The concept of tracking. When the facial recognition software is active, it scans your face. They can also get a glimpse of your background, like the Nike situation I was talking about earlier. You can get tracked by someone hacking into your GPS. However, this isn't as effective as facial recognition because, like, one, you can see your actual background. So let's say you're in the mall. GPS, you don't know what they look like unless you also hack their photos and saw what they look like. But there's so many people around that it may be difficult to find them. However, people can find you if you have, by using facial software recognition, saying, oh, they just passed a Macy's. So that's also a very big problem. And like I said earlier, CCTVs also have facial recognition algorithms, and if you don't know what they look like, here's one right here. Okay. The pros. So this technology may cause harm, but it can save you in desperate situations. In China, there was a child who was kidnapped, and then 30 years later, they were found because of facial recognition software. They had the child's facial recognition in the database, and then it cross-matched with what they looked like 30 years later, and it matched. So they found that child 30 years later. And here is here's the article for that right here. All of the links will be on the bottom right here. And okay, the dangers of artificial intelligence. So there are many concerns when it comes to artificial intelligence in general, like I mentioned earlier. But the biggest concern for this field would be that it takes jobs away from people. How I said earlier, how an ethical concern is because, like, oh, they're going to become too smart. Well, here is a situation. People fear that it's going to become too smart because it will take jobs away from people, or in extreme situations take over the world. But let's say the only job that you can get right now is on a CCTV controlling system, and then monitoring the cameras for security. But with this could put you out of a job. There's also the issue of enemy companies trying to hack into these AIs, which will leave the country very, very vulnerable. And then, even though these are machines, it doesn't necessarily mean that these won't mess up from time to time. So they are prone to error. And the benefits, however, like I mentioned earlier, CCTV sitting in front of a camera monitoring all of this. If someone is trying to plan like a takeover or trying to rob something, the first place they're gonna go to is either take out these cameras or go directly for this guy right here. Hopefully you can see my cursor, but I'm talking about the guy in the photo. That makes this a very dangerous job. But with AI and facial software recognition, it doesn't necessarily mean that someone needs to sit there and man the thing 24/7. So this does reduce the risk of jobs that revolve around security and then monitoring these cameras. And here are the links right here. Now, before I end this video, I would like to go back to the ethical concerns. So, with data collection, again, I'm using John Stuart Mill's theory of utilitarianism, and I feel that for data collection, the cons do outweigh the pros. Like, even though that this can help many people, I feel like it would bring people more happiness if this wasn't a thing at all. So that's what I think for that. Data collection. Tracking. I feel that with tracking, the pros outweigh the cons, and people would be a lot more happy if this was a feature. I feel like the happiness from having it outweighs the happiness from not having it. And then for artificial intelligence, I feel that the pros do outweigh the cons as well. So overall, I do think that having this facial recognition algorithm does bring more happiness than not having it. So this is it for software for artificial intelligence.